Trading is essentially a probability game, and money management is hence inevitable. You may be or may not be aware, and the figures may not sound realistic, but indeed more than 95% traders get bust just because they do not know how to manage their money. When it comes to trading, investors or traders usually tend to pay more attention to the reward side of an investment. However, it is only half of the so-called portfolio design. Not even half, but I would say merely 20%. The other leg of the investing process is usually associated with money management and the nature of risk. We can say that money management is associated with the risk side of an investment, and a system of measures can potentially avoid financial ruin. It is related with measuring and managing the risk of loss and how to utilize your capital in the most efficient way. Now understand that a trading system is by far the least important aspect of being a profitable trader, as overall profitability is solely dependent on money management and the fact how disciplined you are. It is in human nature to feel happy when being rewarded, but different traders usually have different thoughts about the level of risk they can accept and tolerate. In investing, no reward is guaranteed, but unfortunately risk is present all the time. Now this risk is the amount and probability of loss or series of losses which an investor can experience when trading the global markets, and this probability of a loss occurring is as vital as the amount of loss itself. The ideal objective is to have a high reward to risk ratio. Now when designing a strategy, the first move which every trader should make is finding a workable system, one that consistently demonstrates a larger number of profitable trades than losses. Most successful traders will confirm that money management indeed is far more important than the trading system itself. We can say that the object of money management is to maximize the best situations and avoid or diminish those situations which could lead to loss of capital. Now this money management deals with the question of how much risk a decision maker should take in situations where uncertainty is present. This money management plays an important role in every success of a trading system. Now there are two important things to be considered. The first to be considered is risk-reward ratio. This refers to how much you are risking and willing to make on each trade. Let's say for example, a ratio of 1:3 means that for every dollar you are risking in a trade setup, it can potentially reward you with $3. Now the second thing you should have in mind is the expectation of a given system. Now there are basically two approaches to money management: martingale and anti-martingale. Martingale approach states that as the account balance of the trading account decreases, the size of the trade should increase. Now this is a popular money management technique with gamblers. The basic principle of this approach is that as the account suffers losses, its ability to recover increases. Now take for instance a coin flip. After 3 consecutive tails, there is a good possibility that the next outcome will be heads, although each outcome is statistically independent of each other. So now, a gambler bets $100 on heads for the next outcome. If it comes out tails, then the next bet would be $200 for heads again. And the gambler continues to double the bet size until the outcome is heads. Now look at this table. See how the bet size keeps doubling for the gambler who is continuously betting for heads, but the outcome is only tails. One of the main drawbacks of this approach is that it does not consider the fact that each try is totally independent from each other. In other words, every try has a 50% probability to come out heads, regardless of how many tails or heads turned before. And money is not infinite. If you are unfortunate enough to have a long losing streak, then it would not be long before your money and your nerve runs out. Now this anti-martingale states that as the account increases in value, the amount risked should also increase, and when the account decreases in value, the trade size should decrease. The basic principle of this approach is that it permits the geometric growth of the account during strings of consecutive winning trades, and at the same time, it limits the losses during a drawdown period. Now this approach makes more sense, and accordingly we will only consider the anti-martingale approach. There are several money management techniques that fall into the anti-martingale approach, but we will adopt the fixed fractional approach. And this technique states that a trader should risk a fixed percentage of the trading account on each trade. For instance, a conservative trader could use 1% or even 0.5% of a risk per trade, while traders with a higher risk profile could take that percentage up to 5%. The parameter is also highly dependent on the trade expectancy. Now say a trader is risking fixed percentage of initial balance, say 2%, and given a balance of $50,000, that comes to $1,000. After 10 consecutive losses, the balance will be $40,000. Now, assuming that the strategy has a risk-reward ratio of 1:3, and if the outcome is 10 consecutive wins, then the balance will be $80,000. Now let us take a look at the results from losing and winning streaks from someone risking 2% given this fixed fractional approach. The balance with him after suffering losses will be $40,850 compared to $40,000 earlier, and $89,540 when in profits compared to $80,000. Now this difference is huge, especially when going in the money. And remember, this is only a 10 trade sample. What is interesting about this technique is the boost it has in profits. When no money management is used at all, the account will end up at $80,000. On the other hand, when money management is used, the account ended up at $89,540. Now this is a difference of $9,540 just over 10 trades. Imagine what it can do for you after 100 trades. And that's because of the effect of compounding. Money management technique will certainly put the odds in your favor. All I can hope is to have managed to convince you to adopt a money management technique. Now this good money management requires you as a trader not to risk more than 2% of your total account equity. A larger position can incur unwarranted risk in case of failure, including complete loss of capital. Position sizing is directly related to capital risk and is an important aspect of money management that most traders and investors overlook. Now this amount of capital to be risked is dependent on your conviction in the trade. If you have a strong conviction, then you can put 4 to 5% of total capital at risk per trade. If you have an average setup, then you can put 2 to 3% of total capital at risk per trade. And if you have a marginal setup, then you can put 1% of total capital at risk per trade.